Thank you all for joining us. Welcome to Indivisible NWA. My name is Jeremy McManus. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm a volunteer with the Communications and Programs teams, and I'm thrilled to be with you today as the MC for our August Town Hall. So before I get started, just a few housekeeping items. First off, the exits. We've got the two to the rear, some of you came through those, and then we've got one behind me over to my left, to your right. In addition to that, if you came in through the entrance over here to the back left, then you probably already passed through the restrooms or by the restrooms. If you didn't, that's where our restrooms are located. And then finally, I did want you to know that we are recording. Some of us, if you get up and talk, we are going to be recorded, and we will be on video later on. So to start off, a big thank you to all of the volunteers who set up, to all the volunteers that have volunteered to help take things down. I know people got here at about 10:30 this morning and started setting things up, so it's been quite a rush. We had that, obviously, as we always do. We've got a little bit of complications that we had to get through, but we've gotten through everything, got everything fixed up, so we're very excited to get going with that. I also wanted to give a special thanks to all of our special guests who are here today that will be talking to you later, and of course our friends, Veterans for Democracy, that will be playing during your intermission. And again, thank you for showing up. So we'll have an opportunity for all of you to speak later on as we get closer to the back half of our program. Finally, if you've ever been to a protest, called or written to an elected official, or helped someone understand your point of view, even if they disagreed with you, a big thank you for doing that. All these are actions that are part of empowering Arkansans to do democracy together. So today we're going to dive into the principles of Indivisible and the mission of Indivisible NWA. We'll also take a look at what's on the calendar for INWA. Then we'll have the pleasure of hearing from our guest speakers. And finally, we'll wrap up with your questions for our missing guests. We hope that you'll leave today feeling more empowered, less scared, and less alone. So Indivisible's vision is all about creating a real democracy that's truly of, by, and for the people. As a local Indivisible group, one of our key roles is to put pressure on our elected officials to make sure they're working for our democracy. As a local Indivisible group, we stick to four main principles. We're about remaking democracy, modeling inclusion, respect, and fairness. We team up with other Indivisible groups to amplify our voices and make a big impact so we can push for progressive policies and victories. We're committed to nonviolence for two very important reasons. One, we don't want to hurt anyone. The second, nonviolence is what we found throughout history works best. Here in Northwest Arkansas, we're empowering Arkansans to do democracy together, with one of our key roles being to make sure our elected leaders are protecting our democracy. For those of you that aren't aware, we do send out a weekly newsletter every Monday night. Plus, we have a private Facebook group and a public Facebook page, as well as activity on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Substack. If you're not currently getting our emails, then go to indivisible.nwa.org, fill out the form, and that'll get you on our email list so that you're apprised of all the things that we have going on. So some upcoming events. Every Wednesday there's a protest at Cotton and Womack's offices from 10 to 10:45 a.m. If you haven't had an opportunity to show up, I know they know that we're there. So come on out, make your voice heard if you have an opportunity for those. On Thursdays, there's a What's the Plan? It's a national call from 2 to 3 p.m. It's a weekly discussion with Indivisible's co-founders. And then coming up this Monday, September 1st, not this Monday, but Monday, September 1st, Labor Day, we'll have our next big protest. Still working out the details for that, so make sure that you get on the list so you know what we're going to be doing for Labor Day. In addition to that, coming up on Tuesday, September 9th at 7 p.m., we're going to have a Zoom Marshal training. So if you're not familiar with the Marshals, they're the people that that walk alongside us with protests and marches to make sure that we stay safe. And then coming up on Saturday, September 20th, there'll be a September meeting right here at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. Check mobilize.us on our emails for any additional information. Yeah. So before I get to the guest speakers, I did just want to say a few words. So I'm Jeremy McManus, like I said, your MC for the Town Hall. Before we bring on our guests, I'm going to give an opportunity to make a few comments. So I'd like to start off by acknowledging the lack of elephants in the room. As you probably noticed, we have some empty chairs before you. We invited a few special guests, but as expected, they declined our invitation. We did get a letter, I just got that here in front of me, so I'm going to read it off my phone, from one of those representatives, Mr. Womack. So, dear Dr. Childs, I'd like to thank you for extending the invitation to be a guest speaker at a town hall sponsored by Indivisible NWA on Saturday, August 16th, 2025. The ability for groups to gather and exchange ideas while engaging in meaningful discussion is a great display of the freedom that makes the United States of America the greatest country in the world. Unfortunately, I will not be able to attend this town hall, but connecting with constituents I serve is extremely important to me. Right. This is why I spend so much time traveling around my district when Congress is not in session, providing updates from Washington and hearing what matters most to them. In addition, the telephone town hall events I have hosted this year have allowed me to reach thousands of constituents. I am planning to host more of these in the future, and I encourage you to join if your schedule allows. Please let me know if you'd like to have your group added to our call list. Here's the best part though. It is the honor of my life to represent the 3rd Congressional District of Arkansas in Congress. We look forward to seeing you very soon at the roundabout. Like I said, they know where it is. So apparently though, they all have some other priorities, right? These days, stripping our rights, undermining the Constitution, bankrupting our country, and ducking their constituents appear to be their full-time jobs as our elected officials. But that's okay. That's okay. Because today we're here to do democracy together. We're here to share our voices and ask questions to those who have decided that our questions are too uncomfortable for them to answer. Yet still, we're going to ask. We will not be silent. We will keep asking until we get answers and hold them accountable both for their actions and their inaction. As you know, Indivisible NWA is an all-volunteer group. We're all residents of Northwest Arkansas that cannot and will not sit quietly as our nation is destroyed by those who, now that they're in office, seem to care more about holding on to power than they do about the rights of their constituents and the future of our democracy. So a little bit about me personally. I'm new to this. I'm new to being publicly vocal and a full participant in our democracy. While I've always passionately followed the news and current events, I never stood up like I am today. In fact, for most of my life, I didn't even bother voting. Not because I didn't care, but because I lived in states where I felt that my voice didn't matter. More importantly, I didn't hear many politicians that gave voice to my biggest concerns, our nation's future. See, I grew up in a small town not far from here in Ada, Oklahoma, a little town that I watched get destroyed. Our downtown was devastated. Our factories moved out. And when I started working in the mid-90s, I struggled to survive in an economy that was anything but booming. So when the Navy recruiter came knocking, I was raring to go. And I served my country honorably for 12 years, both afloat on active duty in the Persian Gulf and then later deployed as a reservist with a tour in al-Assad, Iraq. Throughout my life, I've seen our government look the other way as business leaders sold out our small towns, moving manufacturing overseas, leaving families struggling to make ends meet, a struggle many have never overcome. And I've watched our political leaders use our military to distract us from our biggest domestic issues, again and again leading us into wars with no exit strategies, only false hope and false narratives. But those weren't the reasons I wasn't involved. It was because I learned from an early age about greenhouse gases and about their rising at an increasing rate, about how they would reshape our environment, making much of the world uninhabitable by raising ocean levels and creating unbearable heat waves. And I also never heard anyone talk about how our educational system was falling apart, about how our schools were gradually removing requirements for humanities, both in our high schools and our colleges, which has led us to a point where we no longer understand each other or how to reason with each other to reach collective conclusions. I wasn't apathetic. I was disenfranchised. And frankly, I didn't see the point in choosing between you candidates who never really addressed what I thought were the most important issues, but instead focused on the symptoms of our cultural malaise. For me, 2016 was my wake-up call. It was the first time where I felt like even if my vote didn't matter, I still needed to make my mark, because it was a choice by someone who, while they might not have spoken much about climate change, at least recognized that it was an issue, and a con man who was only interested in lining his pockets. So for the first time I voted. Even though I lived in a state where I knew that, again, my vote wouldn't really matter, I did it mostly because I didn't want my kiddo to ever ask me, when calamities became an everyday occurrence, what did you do? Where were you? And since then, I've only grown more active, both in contributing to campaigns and today working as a volunteer with Indivisible and other groups, who recognize that we're on the wrong path, a path to destruction, not just for America, but for the world. For me, Indivisible has given me hope. It has allowed me to come together with like-minded residents of Northwest Arkansas who aren't willing to roll over and be silent as our rights are trampled, and our nation is degraded by those whose only interest is their selfish desires. Indivisible has been an organization that has allowed all of us to raise our voices together and cry out at the injustices of the current administration. To me, it is an organization that is pushing for the true American dream, political equality. America has always been a dream promised by the powerful, but only made real when the people have come together to claim the dream for themselves. It began as a dream of equality, but equality only for the few. And our ancestors of all colors and creeds heard the dream, and hearing it, they recognized their inherent right to share it. And so they fought not with fists or swords or guns, but with their hearts and their souls. And for them, the dream became a reality. And yet still not everyone was allowed to share in that dream. And again, our ancestors fought with their minds and their bodies to make it true for all. And just as it appeared as if we were finally shedding the prejudices of the past, they have returned, like the Hydra, many-headed and venomous. And today our leaders are using that poison to lock the dream away. They want us to cower in fear and divide us with silly distractions while they strip us of our rights and undo centuries of struggle. Are we going to let them? No. Are we going to let them take away our dreams? No. Are we going to let them deny the equality of all Americans? No. You're damn right we're not. We are indivisible, and together, just as our forebears, we shall overcome. We will stand together, shoulder to shoulder, against this tyranny, against those that seek to strip away what generations of Americans have fought to gain and protect. We will organize, we will march, we will make our voices heard, and we will never be silenced, because we represent not just ourselves, but the millions who are too afraid to make their voices heard because they have already had their rights stripped away, their families sent to concentration camps, to places with garishly inhumane names that reveal the dark and foolish hearts that have created them. And we represent the millions of children who are being raised in a world that will soon be unfit for humanity, incapable of supporting them. Well, we are not afraid, we are not overwhelmed, because we stand together, indivisible. And we know that if we stand together, if we make our voices heard, and if we refuse to back down or cower to their tactics of intimidation, we will turn the tide. Well, we must make no mistake about it. Violence is never and will never be the answer. As some of the greatest people we've ever known have shown time and again, violence only begets violence. The true path to victory is through nonviolent resistance. It's through self-sacrifice, being willing to give of yourself to protect others, not for any personal gain, but because it's what's right. And we, as has been shown again and again throughout history, are on the side of what's right and of what's just. Before I wrap up and introduce our speakers, I'd like to issue you the same challenge that our local Indivisible co-leader Lisa Childs laid down during her last town hall, when she called for us to think about not just what we don't want, what we'd like to see in the future, about what brings us hope. For me, I'd like to see us focus on our shared future, not a future for the few, but for the many, a future powered by clean energy and minds, educated in world-class schools, where our children are challenged to become leaders of the future and not simply passive consumers. What do you want to see? As you think about that, feel free to write it down and share your thoughts during our question session for our missing guests. Now for our special guests of the day. So we're going to start off with Laura Kellums, Northwest Arkansas Director of Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families, dedicated to ensuring that all children and their families have the resources and opportunities to lead healthy and productive lives and to realize their full potential.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks to all of you for being here today and for all the work you're doing to push back against the bad policy ideas of this administration. Can everybody hear me okay? I'm talking today about the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill Act and the impact that it will have here in Arkansas. This is a harmful law to our state and to Arkansans, in part because it targets low-income people, and we are a relatively low-income state. For those of you who don't know me and don't know Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families, I'll just briefly let you know that this is the type of work that we do, fighting back against that type of legislation that makes it more hard. It makes it harder for families who already be struggling to make ends meet. At our organization, we're policy researchers and we're also lobbyists. So we're lobbying on behalf of low-income kids in our state and trying to advance better public policy that can give them more opportunities. And the types of policies that we work on include everything from Medicaid and Our Kids First Access for Kids to the SNAP program, which is food assistance, as well as fighting back against really a kind of upside down tax policy that favors the wealthiest people at the expense of low income people. So you can understand, if you know anything about the recent big federal law, why we would be against it. All of that, it was on the wrong side of all of those issues. We did all we could to fight back against that bill. We did radio ads, a full page ads in Immigrant Gazette. We did spend thousands on pass-through calls trying to get people to call their lawmakers. We knew that the Arkansas delegation would vote in favor of this bill, but we were trying to mitigate the damage as much as we could to get them to try to insert changes that could mitigate the damage. And there was some success in that. It's actually, believe it or not, it could have been worse. So there was a little bit of success in that. But overall, that's going to have a really harmful impact in Arkansas, and I just wanted to make sure I share that with you all. So our estimate, as we've been studying the bill in our office along with our national partners who work on this legislation as well, and so our estimates are that the new One Big Beautiful Bill Act will cause 131,000 Arkansans to lose their health insurance, and that includes people who have Medicaid and also people who have private health insurance. We estimate that 25,000 people will lose their SNAP benefits, their food stamps. This, of course, is in the state with the highest hunger rates in the nation. We also will save an unprecedented amount of money that's going to have to come out of the state budget to keep some of these programs going. The SNAP program is a really good example of that, and I'll mention how that's going to work here in a minute. This is money that used to come from the federal government that now will come from us here in Arkansas. Even though we can't afford that as a state. So at the same time, the tax cuts in the bill the new law, are very skewed. So for those Arkansans with the top 1% of incomes in our state, that's about, they'll get about a $49,000 tax cut, the extension of their current tax cut every year on average. And those are families whose incomes on average are about $670,000 a year. Meanwhile, the lowest income Arkansans will see a tax cut of about $40. Those are families who have a $25,000 or less income. And so obviously very skewed. And while the law, you might have heard that it increases the child tax credit, something that we are in favor of, actually the lowest income people in the state won't be able to see that benefit. It's skewed towards higher income people as well. About 240,000 Arkansas children live in families who will be denied that full tax credit. And then, of course, Congress didn't see fit in doing all these tax credits to extend the tax credits that help people buy their private health insurance on the marketplace. And so those plans are going to become less affordable, and we'll see a lot of people losing their health insurance on January 1st. And you'll hear from others today who can talk about other impacts of the bill, and especially really huge impacts that we're going to see in our immigrant community. So much more detail on this bill. I mean, it's a short amount of time, but there's much more detail on our website back in the back, I have a two-sided flyer that has a few QR codes on it that goes directly to our website to give you more information about these details. This is just just the surface of what we're going to see. But what I want to leave you with today is that even though this bill is already law, and this is going to be damaging to our state, there are opportunities for advocacy in the coming months and years. There's the obvious one to hold our federal lawmakers accountable, which is part of the reason you're here today, and to make sure that our Arkansans know when they lose their SNAP benefits, when they lose their Medicaid benefits, or they can't afford their health insurance, remind them where this came from, what policy it was that put this into place. But one of the best examples of our ongoing advocacy is that at the state level, we're going to have to fight for these programs. The SAP program is a really good example of this. Next year, we're going to owe $23 million that we've never had to go never before to keep that program going. And we're going to have to fight from the state to make that a priority at a time when almost all the new discretionary money is going to private school vouchers and to prisons.
Right.
And so, and then the year after that, we'll probably see, in addition to that $23 million that will be annual, we'll see another $55 to maybe $78 million that the state will have to pay to keep the SNAP program going. That is an optional program, so it's a real existential threat to this program and to hungry families who depend on it to feed their kids. So at our organization, we've been doing this work for more than 50 years. We've been around since 1977. So we've seen good ideas and bad ideas like this come and go. But what hasn't changed is that there's always folks who are trying to move us backward. And those of you in the room are trying to fight against that. And those folks who are trying to take away the gains that we've made. So it's all of our jobs to call these folks out, to educate the broader community about the consequences of these policy decisions, both at the state and the federal level. So I'm grateful to all of you for your attention and for being here and spending your Saturday to learn more about this. And again, my business cards and those flyers are in the back. I would encourage you to go on our website and sign up to keep up with this information as much as you can. Thank you so much.
All right, and now we're going to hear from Kathy Grisham, former CEO of a local healthcare network dedicated to providing quality, comprehensive healthcare for everyone.
How can you hear me? Okay, good. As you've heard, learning about the big bill that passed by the administration and Congress is very difficult. There are some very tricky things that I will tell you as far as healthcare is concerned. I was in the healthcare field for 20 years, serving low-income people. And a lot of this is deja vu. Things that we fought for 15 years are now disappearing. We suffered through this, and as a state, we could have learned from it. But here we are again. I'm not even going to talk about a lot of these places, immigrants who are affected with their health care in this bill. But I am going to use information and examples from Arkansas advocates and from the Arkansas Center for Healthcare Improvement to help explain exactly what is happening. A new analysis shows that 131,000 Arkansans will lose their health care in the next decade. These are low-income people who often work hourly jobs with no health care benefits for themselves or their family, and they also work long hours. So how do they get health care? There are three ways. Medicaid is the way most adults, they're low income, to get health care. There's a CHIP program for children, which we expanded to serve more children in Arkansas. And then there's the Affordable Care Act, which passed in 2014, where 150,000 Arkansans who are above the Medicaid income eligibility limit get their health care coverage. Most of them have financial assistance in the way of subsidies that eliminate affordability barriers. But with this new bill, that financial assistance is low. I'm going to give you an example of what that means to a single female making $35,000 a year. Her premiums on the marketplace are $96 a month. In 2026, that premium increases 150% to $240. Congress elected not to extend financial assistance that smoothed that transition as people increase their gains in their income. Actuarial experts estimate that 47 to 57% decline in the enrollment in the marketplace in 2026, erasing the coverage gains that we had made in the last 5 years. Insurance companies have already said that on the marketplace, they expect to increase their premiums by between 26 and 50%. So the marketplace coverage is going to be priced out for many people, even without that subsidy. Workplace requirements, you've heard a lot about that. They're not scheduled to go into action until 2027. But Arkansas already has a pending request to put similar rules in place. Now, we did this in 2018, and it was struck down by the courts rather quickly. But before it was struck down, 18,000 Arkansans lost coverage within 7 months. And there's how people sign up for Medicaid. Right now, you have 1 year. You provide income and other information to Medicaid, and you have coverage for a year. That's changing so that you have to provide the income and eligibility and information every 6 months. This is more than just anything up. It means that people working multiple jobs to care for their family, who have transportation issues, who move frequently, will miss notices for deadlines, and only become aware that they've lost their eligibility when they show up at a medical clinic for care.
Okay.
That's what happened previously, before we made to the yearly eligibility. Rural hospitals. In Arkansas, there are 47 rural hospitals. 2/3 of them are at risk of closing within 6 to 7 years, and 23 of the rural hospitals will be at immediate risk of closure with financial reserves of only 2 to 3 years. I haven't even mentioned the effects of behavioral health, dental care, substance abuse treatment from all of this. Much of all of this is affected for people to get care when they don't have Medicaid or the marketplace insurance. Bottom line, our Arkansas workforce will suffer, our children will suffer, and it's a mess. It's a race to the bottom. We are now 45, but are we headed to be? Thank you.
Now we'll have Joanna Kraus from Canopy, Northwest Arkansas, welcoming and equipping refugees with all they need to build new lives.
Thank you so much. Who's here today because they love democracy? Me too. Glad we're here in good company. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Joanna Krause, and I have the absolute privilege and pleasure to serve as the Executive Director of Canopy of Northwest Arkansas. This is your refugee resettlement agency, and it was formed in this very room by community members coming together to say, what can we do to make a difference? There are people suffering in the world. What can we do right here in the community? And you all did this. There are now nearly 1,000 people living and working, going to school in our community because of a gathering that started in this very room and started a movement that turned into a life-saving nonprofit locally. So I'm here today to talk about the impacts of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which I'm going to call OBA because I have trouble saying that full name, on refugee and other lawful humanitarian immigrants in the community. I also want to just state that refugee resettlement is just one immigration pathway. It's a legal immigration pathway for people who have faced persecution. And it is a immigration pathway that our country has been running with a ton of evidence successfully for 45 years. And much of that programming is changing this year and is further impacting people in our very community as a result of the passage of OVA. So people who came to the United States who waited years and years, went through some cases decades-long vetting process, came to this country, they knew they would work quickly, would pay taxes, but would have some access to benefits because we made this commitment to do this resettlement program with people who had been forced to flee their home. So for the last 45 years, refugees have been able to come into the country. You know, people often arrive at Epsom with all of their belongings in one suitcase, and they could access SNAP or food stamps. Effective July 4th, people with refugee status, effective immediately, do not have access to food stamps, to SNAP. What that means is families in our community will be experiencing more hunger. Now, refugee families that I know here across the state of Arkansas, these are working families. They're Alice families, asset limited, income constrained. If you have one adult who's working, stopping overnight at the Walmart or working at the chicken processing plant, and you have many children, that doesn't pay all your bills, and you've been eligible to have public benefits, and now that's changing for refugee communities. I met with a single mom. She has 2 kids. She's working. She's done everything that the U.S. government asked of her. And she said to me, Joanna, what do I do? Our new immigrant neighbors, this information is really hard even if you have a strong fluency in English to access. This information is coming as a shock. And to have this benefit that you relied on to feed your family suddenly gone is a tremendous hardship. So SNAP was the first benefit to be rolled back from refugees. Medicaid will no longer be available as of October 1 of 2026 for the refugee community. In addition, there are new fees that have been instituted for lawfully present humanitarian immigrants in our communities. For example, if you were a SNAP recipient, after 12 months, refugees are required to apply for their green card or legal permanent residency status, and you would receive a waiver. If you were receiving public benefits, now the cost is $1,500 per person. So you'll need to come up with those funds on top of, just months into the country. In addition, as I shared, coming through the refugee program is just one way that people with humanitarian need of protection come to this country. Applying for asylum, crossing a border and requesting your case to be heard for asylum is a globally recognized human right. For the first time in our nation's history, access to humanitarian protection and due process under the legal system now has a cost attached to it. There is now a fee in the United States to apply for asylum. There will also be new and increased fees for work permits and other immigration legal services processes that enable you to work here in the country. So I do want to share a small positive. While refugees, people granted asylum, these other humanitarian immigrants are really hurt and exempt from OVA when they've been cut off from SNAP and Medicaid. In the initial draft of the legislation, COFA migrants, Compact of Free Association, that is how many of our Marshallese neighbors came to the community, are also going to lose benefits, which is crazy. This community, especially the Marshallese community, advocated hard and were just granted those benefits within the past couple of years. So fortunately, thanks to the voice of the community and the listening ears of some of our elected officials, that will not happen. Our Marshallese neighbors, COFA migrants, will continue to be able to access these benefits. So our voice can make a really, really big difference. So want to think about those wins as well. So I'm happy to answer lots of questions. In the back there, we have contact cards. Please fill out your information so you can get added to our listserv. A few recommendations I have for all of you to show up today. Keep showing up. This is amazing that you're here. Ask a lot of questions. There are so many changes week to week. Can't even stay on top of it. You're hearing from amazing organizations today. Their listservs, their webinars, their social media is incredibly informative for me, and I'm sure it will be for you as well. At Canopy this year, we would love to speak to more people. Please invite us to talk to your book club, to your civic group, in your faith community. We want to talk about the work that we do and share how you can get involved. Talk to your neighbors. You're ready to act, get involved with volunteers. And I hope by showing up in these spaces, you'll find a lot of hope. I get the chance to talk and communicate with wonderful people every day, which gives me so much hope. And I hope you do as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joanna. Now we'll turn to Christian Garner, Board of Directors, Arkansas and the ACLU, defending basic freedoms every day for every American.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, Indivisible NWA. I'm here to talk about the ACLU, been punching above its weight class for over 100 years. It seems like it seems like wars bring out the best in people and the worst in government. The ACLU National was founded in 1920. Another little skirmish brought us the ACLU of Arkansas in 1970. And you could kind of figure out what was going on internationally to make those advocates of our civil liberties and rights take risks, put those at risk. ACLU, in addition to the litigation work that they do, they're also involved in public education, lobbying, and advocacy. That's me. From the last week of January to the last week of July, you'll figure out what kind of time frame that draws us, what makes that time frame significant. The ACLU has filed almost 150 legal actions. The legal actions involve 68 lawsuits and 80 other legal actions, and those include FOIAs, amicus briefs, and official agency complaints. In terms of our local ACLU chapter, we have a list of priorities, and we've had to prioritize because it's a fire hose of assaults on our civil liberties. First Amendment rights, which includes speech, assembly, civil liberties, and protection of democracy. And what we don't think of in that bucket is government transparency. Because you can't advocate for your rights if things are going on you don't know about. And that has been a significant issue in the last 6 months. Racial justice and systemic quality work, immigration rights that come to the forefront in that group, that bucket of litigation, as well as addressing issues with our BIPOC, immigrant, and LGBTQ communities, all under assault. Voting and elections work. Another issue that we thought we did address 50 years ago that's now under attack. ACLU National has a wonderful template to use here in Arkansas for Know Your Rights. Also involved education advocacy and litigation with nonprofit photo detection hotline that fires up and is available before and shortly after each of our elections. Another major assault on our civil liberties, reproductive liberty, access to abortion. We've been on the front lines of that work since Roe, not only with litigation, but also policy. We work with allies to organize and work for reproductive liberty, gender equality, privacy, and bodily autonomy. Students' rights. Our last major priority, we do a lot of other things, but the last major priority is students' rights, which in this last 90 days has involved addressing the attack on our shared history, where African American history is being rewritten to something that's not recognizable for those of us who grew up in the 50s. So current cases, we're going to make current cases. Librarians, we have action protecting our librarians. Started right here, protecting our Fayetteville Public Library, protecting access to gender-affirming care. We won that battle. Won that battle 4 years ago. Just received a significant setback from the Court of Appeals last week. So that's going to be going to the Supreme Court. Sergeant, stop it. My digital timekeeper's after me. Religious liberties and families, addressing that's addressing the 10 Commandments that our legislature decided we needed a clear violation to the Constitution. We needed that in classrooms. We have 2 ballot question committees that are challenging our inability for our Kansans to address their needs at the ballot on. And just a couple more. One that didn't get much press, but a woman assaulted and arrested for video, using her cell phone to video police attack on a demonstrator. Litigating for rights of petitioners to circulate petitions. The state has made that one. We have suits challenging the racial gerrymandering of our state to minimize overnight. And lastly, one that has not got much action, but it's suing to protect the Federal Pregnant Workers Affairs Act to include the right to abortion, not just the right to forced pregnancy. So, thank y'all very much for the work y'all are doing.
And our final guest speaker, Irvin Camacho, Alliance for Immigrant Respect and Education, working to build a supportive neighborhood for Northwest Arkansas and River Valley immigrants in education, advocacy, and language justice.
It must be nice to get paid over $150,000 a year and not show up to your job, right? So my name is Irvin Camacho. I am co-founder of the Alliance of Immigrant Respect and Education, also known as AIRE. A little bit about what we do is we do public events to teach people what their rights are, specifically immigrants. We go out to knock doors and take know your rights information to their homes of people. And also we have something called an ICE Watch, which we confirm or deny reports of ICE in Northwest Arkansas and also in the River Valley. What that looks like is, we wake up every day, have the toxic trade up going on my Facebook as soon as I wake up. And right from the get-go, in the morning, you see all these reports of ICE activity in Northwest Arkansas. And we hear multiple stories of different situations that are happening with immigrants in our area. We hear about a Marshall Lee's man who ICE showed up to his house in Oriole Street in Springdale. He knew his rights. He was able to ask for a signed warrant, and the police and ICE eventually left. Unfortunately, ICE waited till 2 more days since the first event and arrested him on his way to work. We hear stories of Julio, who went to his immigration appointment in Fort Smith, got approved for his work permit, but ICE arrested him outside of the immigration office. We hear reports of other individuals. Well, before I go there, I do want to say some good news. We were able to fundraise for Julio a few days ago to pay his immigration bond, so if he's not out yet, he will be out soon out of the immigration bond. The story that really affects me is, this happened about a week and a half ago. There was a man that was actually heading to work. He was outside of his house in his truck. I showed up, pulled him out of his vehicle, took him for about 2 or 3 hours, dropped him off at his house after he realized that he had a legal process and he was here with a permit, bruised up. And unfortunately, a lot of those times, these individuals are scared to follow up. They're not going to go to the news, so you're not going to hear about this. They're not going to want to do anything else because they don't want to ruin their immigration process. So I tell you those stories just because I want you to know what's going on. Like, this is our reality. We're exposed to so many different stories every day. And it's important. It was important for me to be here today because I wanted to be able to relay that information, but also talk a little bit about how the big ugly bill affects immigrant communities here in not only in Arkansas, but across the country. $170 billion total toward immigration enforcement and border security through 2029 has been added to the ICE budget, the biggest ICE budget in the history of this country. $75 billion for ICE interior enforcement, including detention and deportations. $14.4 billion for transportation and removal proceedings. $45 billion designated for adult and family detention facilities to create a capacity for 100,000 detentions daily. $10 billion for hiring 10,000 new ICE officers, and there's currently a maximum of $50,000 signing bonus to be an ICE officer. $2.4 billion for state and local programs like 287G. And unfortunately, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Governor Sanders, her Act 426 now forces every sheriff's office in our state to apply for a 287G program. So they're forced to now. And I'm not sure if you saw on the news yesterday, but the Arkansas National Guard has applied for this program in the past few days. And they applied for the program where they'll be in the streets. It's not going to be the jail program. They're going to be out enforcing. If they think they found probable cause to stop someone, they're going to be able to. So I'm here. And then also, there's also, there's so much. One of the things I also wanted to include was that fees for immigration process have also been increased. So people that want to do it the right way, it's more difficult for them. And it's going to be more difficult in the next few months and years. So me, as an immigrant organizer, and specifically being here today with you allies, there's a lot of you that have already been doing good work and have been showing up. But for those that haven't, I'm asking you to please step up. Please step up and support your immigrant neighbors. Let me tell you, it's not going to stop there. Eventually it's one community, and then it goes to another community. So eventually they're going to come for you one way or another, so why not start, working together and showing up for one another and building a community of people that care for one another. And there's a lot of you here that are doing that, so I'm really appreciative of that. My calls to action as co-founder of IDID is to come to one of our Know Your Rights events that we have. We're about to do one at the end of this month. Confirmation for the date and location will happen soon. This was going to be specifically for allies. What do you do if ICE shows up? How do you protect an immigrant neighbor, an immigrant friend? We're going to teach you how to do that at that event. So please come to that event. We started a new program where we're asking allies to accompany immigrants to their immigration check-ins in Little Rock. Some of you have already signed up, which I'm grateful for that. For those that haven't, we're going to need all the help that we can get because there's hundreds of people that go to their immigration check-ins and they're scared. Join grassroots organizations like Allies for Love, Liberty, and Immigrants. They're meeting in Benton County every month. That's an organization that's doing a lot of good work in supporting IDA, supporting immigrants in Northwest Arkansas. So join organizations like that. Donate to IDA if you can. We are going to need to fundraise in order for us to be able to travel the state and kickstart movements across the state. We've had people reach out. We just haven't had the resources to really send people out. People in Russellville have reached out, in Little Rock, Hot Springs. People really want to do something. Allies really want to do something. They just need a little bit of direction and support. If you see an ICE arrest, make sure you record it. Make sure you try to get the person's name also that's being detained so that we can try to help them. You know, it's not, we can't just be bystanders anymore. You know, if we see something that's wrong, we have to speak out and we have to bring attention to it. So I ask, if you see something, please record, please report back to IDA so we can see how we can support. Post Know Your Rights resources on your social media. If you go to the IDA's page on Facebook or Instagram, we posted a lot of those. So just share that. Sometimes immigrant neighbors see that you share that and they see you as a safe person and they tend to trust you a little bit more. The most important thing, speak out against racism, racial profiling, and ICE. You know, right now, I can tell you that our immigrant community is so scared. They're fearful to go to the grocery store. They're fearful to take their kids to school. I'm not sure if you saw the other day, there was a family taking their kids to school in Springdale. ICE detained them, called the kids illegal aliens on camera, and then told them to leave. And luckily they were not detained. Luckily they were not arrested, but they were detained. And those kids, like, they're gonna remember that. They're gonna remember that these ICE officers called them illegal aliens even though they're US citizens. So I just wanna say, speak out against racism. Please don't be silent, because silence is violence, specifically in these situations. And do what you can to create a safe space for immigrants in Arkansas. We see that. We see you speaking out. We see you being a good human and taking care of immigrants and doing everything that you can to protect the people of Arkansas. So thank you all for your time, and please follow up. Don't let this die here. I didn't come to Don't let this just be a one feel-good event. Like, follow up, do something, get engaged. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So those are our guest speakers for the moment. We're going to have a brief intermission. So I want to let you know there's a sign-up sheet on the walls over there for those who would be interested in receiving marshal training. Also, fill out the card that's on your chair with a question or comment you'd like to ask your congressperson. Be sure to write the name of the congressperson you'd like it to go to. So, and make sure that it has Hoppy's name on it, Womack's name on it, whoever it is that you want to go to, because we will be sorting those and sending them and getting them to the appropriate congressperson. Remember, though, we don't promote violence or violent language. At the end, leave your card in the basket on the front table as you leave, and we'll deliver those to the offices of your listed congressperson. Now I'm going to turn it over to Veterans for Democracy, Lane Williams, Jim Hale, and Lee Hite.
Before everybody just takes a break, I'd like to just make one statement. We are Veterans for Democracy. We're here to represent veterans. There are so many issues, and each one of those issues is a microcosm of the tension, the fear that is being promulgated throughout. So we just have a letter here. We're veterans who believe in keeping the promises this country made to us when we put on the uniform. We've been part of the VA system collectively for decades, and yes, it's underfunded, overworked, but the people inside it, the nurses, the therapists, the clerks, social workers, they care so much for the veterans, and we feel it. We have a wonderful hospital here in Fayetteville. They are the ones that are keeping it going. Now, those same people are burning out and leaving because politicians are starving the VA, denying employee rights by dissolving their union, and by reducing force numbers, creating a stressful and unhealthy work environment for them and as a result for the veterans. They want to scatter veterans into private care, one veteran here, one veteran there, but that strips us of our power. It severs our community. The VA is not just a hospital, it's where we look out for each other, where we swap stories in waiting rooms, where we remember who we are. That's not just healthcare, that's survival for us. We stand here today to say we will not be invisible, we will not be divided or privatized. We demand a fully staffed, fully funded VA, and we stand with the workers who care for us, and we say no to any administration that tries to sell us off piece by piece. So Jim here, Jim Hale, is a Vietnam vet. He's about to sing a song. The song is called Soldiering On by Mary Gachet, who's a wonderful songwriter and advocate for veterans. It tells the truth of what happens when we come home. What serves us in battle can kill us at home, unless we have each other, unless we fight for each other. So here we are, still soldiering on. And I will say no to hate, and yes to love. Say no to violence, and say yes to peace. Say no to poverty, and yes to abundance. Say no to fascism, and yes to democracy. And say no to being divided, and yes to being united. This is the United States of America, and that includes all of us. Thank you so much for being here.
I've been saying, I'm Jim Hale. I'm a patient at the Fayetteville VA. I hit the jackpot about a year ago. I got a primary care doctor who was a combat veteran. He served in Iraq, and when he got out of the military, he wanted to work for the VA so he could keep patching the troops back together. About 3 months ago, he told me that he's leaving the VA. He's totally discouraged. At every turn at the VA, they're trying to get you to go to community care. Probably about 50% of the patients no longer get care at the VA. It's all going to privatization. So, anyway, it's a tough struggle. The song, Soldiering On, I wish I wrote it, goes like this. More important, single human life. Wore my uniform with honor, my service, not a sacrifice. What saved you in battle, killed you at home. Soldier
I was voluntold by my bosses here to say a few things, so I'll try to make something up. I only have a few precious seconds though, so if you would, let me hear it. Let's see. My name is Lane Williams. I'm a search and rescue military veteran. I'm a registered nurse who works in public schools and in hospitals. And I'm thank you. Thanks. And I'm nice. This pill bottle shaker. I'm also a prior federal law enforcement officer. So I've seen these systems that are sort of propping up our country, our healthcare system, our education system, our legal system, the military-industrial complex. These are our pillars that we're sitting on, and they're all just decaying. My analysis of that, I think at the center point of that decay is greed. I think we've got rampant greed in this nation. I'm pretty angry about it. I'm here to play some music and be lighthearted, but I'm existentially angry. We're at the point, we are at the historical point right now. It's not in the future, it wasn't yesterday. We're going down the rabbit hole. So we need to do something about that. We all have different skills. I can play some music, I can patch up bleeding people. All of you have your own thing that you can do. We need to vote. We're all doing that, everybody in this room. I think one thing that we need to do is to convince our neighbors and our relatives that are losing their minds and following this dictator. I'm gonna show you on my shirt real quick. Thank you. We need to convince those people that are following this false prophet down this path to change their minds. I don't know how to do that. It doesn't seem like they're listening well, but we got to be really loud and we have to try. So please do something. I'm a little filled with despair right now, so I'll try to lighten the mood. I'll play a song about trickle-down economics to do so. It's called Trickle On Out. This is Daisy Williams, my daughter.
Future rock star.
Let's trickle on out. You should give your dollars to me. Trickle on out. I swear it ain't no pyramid scheme to trickle on out. Grab your wallet and your pen key. In this life deserving nothing for free. I promise if you give it to me, you'll trickle on out. Take those loans for that art degree. Trickle on out. Trickle on out. That tenure track say rare breed to trickle on up. Trickle on up. They told my parents to tell me I can be anything that my mind sees. I didn't count on probability to trickle We grew up learning our land is free and freedom's enough. Freedom's enough. Unless you're native, black, Hispanic, or queer, then pack up your stuff. Pack up your stuff. The only problem is getting to be as equal as a guy that looks like me. I didn't count on probability to trickle on up. False promises as rules, leading us for anything you want to do, doing everything but serving me and you. You kick them out, they'll scream and shout that we demand much better from you. Ignore your rights just given to me and give them on up. Trickle on up. I'll have you work until you're 93 just to pay for your stuff. Pay for your stuff. You got us living on a collar and leash. Hold us down with one hand while the others succeed. What will it take for the people to see? Trickle on. Thank you.
Thank you, Lane Williams, postcard veteran, by the way. All right, we got another tune, right? One more time? We got time for another one? All right, we're gonna do a little song from Canned Heat back in the 70s, 60s, 70s. Work together.
This song this was in,
Did I?
it was in Forrest Gump. It was a popular song back in the 1968, 69. The country was coming apart, bombs were blowing up and stuff. And this song was trying to get people to work together. And we stand by every bar. Come on, people, get on the ball and work together. And we stand, boy, girl, woman, and man. Think go wrong, next time. Travel people, all together, work together. Work together. United we stand. Boy, girl, woman, and man.
I love your t-shirt, but if you get that eye on that, it's one of my favorites.
Two or three minutes, 2 or 3 hours. What does it matter? It's not a hour. Together we stand. Boy, girl,
All right, that's Veterans for Democracy. Great job, guys. Thank you so much. Wayne Williams, Jim Hale, Lee Height.
Just like this.
All right, so coming up, I think this is the moment that many of you have been waiting for. So we're going to have our questions for our missing guests from all of you. So you are now our honored guests and ask them questions. So we're going to have microphones set up on either side. So we're going to have people holding microphones. All you need to do is come on up and form an aisle or a line along the aisle. And whoever comes up first will have an opportunity to speak first. Have about 90 seconds to ask a question or make a statement. Each person will have no more than 90 seconds to speak. There's going to be timekeepers that will keep you on track, and we're going to alternate from one side to the other. So remember, we do not condone violence or violent speech. So who wants to get us started? I hear a me over there, a young voice. Anyone? I feel like this is the Bueller moment. Do you want to get us started? Okay. People, microphone up there.
All right, can everybody hear me? All right, my name is Diana Lawrence, and I'm running for Congress against Steve Womack. But what's more important is that I'm running for you. You need a representative that cares. You need a representative that's going to do the work for everybody, not just people that voted for him and the Republicans. So that's my goal, and what I want to say is every presenter today was fantastic. Yeah. But to borrow a phrase from somebody really important, I have a dream. I have a dream that we won't need these kind of people anymore, that we won't need their hard work, that they could work on something else that's just as important, but that we don't need someone that has to stand up for immigrants, someone that has to stand up for people who don't have as much money, someone who doesn't have to stand up for unions being formed. So those are my dreams, that we don't need to have so many social programs run by average people. And okay, it's hard to get 30 seconds of a politician. So those are my dreams, and I have a grassroots organization that I'm trying to run. So I'm trying to call as many people as I can just to find out what they want and what they need. So you might hear from me in the future. So when you do, please tell me what you need. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other takers? You'll want to get up and ask your question, make your comments. To those special guests of ours, here we've got some right here.
All right, and I've got my own mic.
Got your own mic.
This is, first of all, for Congressman Womack. I'll send a letter to him to this effect. And I attended the United States Naval Academy, and we were training elite officers for the United States Navy and the Marine Corps at the Naval Academy. And there was an honor code there. And if a midshipman was caught in one line, if he was caught cheating one time, they were gone before the next morning formation. And so I asked Congressman Womack, who's a West Point grad and a retired colonel from the Army, how can you support a president who lies every time he opens his mouth? How did you not get this person? You had two historic opportunities to make it so this guy could go to jail, or at least, and never be president again. And you squandered that opportunity. And this goes for all three of these gentlemen here. They are complicit in everything that we talk about here, no matter what they say from this point forward. They're complicit. They are not working for our people. They're not working for us. They're working for a person, and that's not representation in America. That's all I got.
Who do we have next? Yeah. Sure. Come on over. Dallas will get you hooked up to the microphone.
What? Hello, my name is Bill Reed. I'm a veteran, so I just want to say that I don't know how anyone could stand there and think this workest man that we have in our office. But I have known about that man since 37. And I've known what he was ever since then. You have some of us, there's a lot of us try to show people what it was like. And it's still like I couldn't believe it. He got elected. We have to get him out of it. Yes. We have to talk to our friends. We have to talk to whoever we have to talk to, but we need to stop making a this sort of base seat. Thank you.
Conversation. All right, who else do we have?
I have a question. Okay.
Come on up.
Is this for them?
Yes, this is for them.
I missed the instructions.
Yeah, this is for our special guests who decided not to show up for us today.
All right, I have a question from somebody. My name is Nathan Williams. I have a son who's wearing a cowboy hat, wearing a song I should call Nub. And I made him. So here's my deal. I'm a retired police officer. I was active for 30 years. We're a military family. Both my sons are disabled veterans. For 11 of my years in police work, I was a detective in a special investigation unit where the majority of the crimes was committed. We investigated against women and children, primarily predatory crimes, violent crimes, and a lot of that had to do with sexual predation on children. So my question for these guys behind me is, what are we going to do about the fact that we've got a lot of monsters on the list out there called the Epstein file, and how are we going to make that public in a way that doesn't spread, I don't want to spread child porn, but I feel like there's got to be a bipartisan way, maybe both their colleagues who are elected officials, but also former prosecutors, maybe a team of 20 of them, bipartisan, get together, review that file, and then I think their conscience would lead them to do the right thing if they see children being preyed upon. So that would be my question for them, is how are we going to get those Epstein files public? Thank you very much.
All right, question or comment coming up.
Cool. I'm Lane Bartlett. I'm a native Arkansan, lifelong Arkansan, rather than former educator. And, having spent a lot of my life living in Arkansas, I know that Republicans and myself often have great gaps into our understanding these moments. But one thing I thought that we all agreed on was that the security of this nation was really important. That was one thing I thought that myself and the Republicans could agree upon, that we support national security. I want to know why these Republicans who are not here to speak to their constituents are continuing to support someone who has been so careless with our national secrets. If any other person, let alone the president, had been so careless with our national secrets, stolen them, and just left them in his unsecured golf resort for anyone to pilfer through. His golf resort that has spies constantly getting caught in and around
Mar-a-Lago, they would have been under the prison by now. I want to know why it's suddenly okay to be that careless with our national security. Yeah.
All right, do we have any more like to come up? All right, here we go.
I'm not really a public speaker, so I have to wait for this to learn. Behind that. To those Arkansans who think that people losing their healthcare coverage will not impact you, you're wrong. There would be higher narrow wait times. Closure of rural clinics and hospitals, as mentioned earlier, will make it so that the people entering the hospitals that remain open will be more sick, as primary care will be out of financial reach for many, and the workload will continue to increase for medical staff who are already underpaid and understaffed. In May of this year, Margaret Love, president of the Arkansas Nursing Association, said that by 2030, Arkansas would face a shortage of up to 10,000 nurses. This would impact everyone who seeks care, no matter the setting. Steve Womack graced himself for sitting in a chair for 16 hours with just one bathroom break to pass this bill that's going to rip healthcare away from many Arkansans. I don't make $174,000 a year, and I, along with many other nurses, have worked these same hours on our feet with no bathroom breaks and no lunches to provide care for Arkansans. Steve Womack, Tom Cotton, and John Bozeman, maybe you've forgotten who you're supposed to represent, but we'll remind you. And to my fellow Arkansans, divided we will fall, and united we will stand.
Hi, Bruce Bills. I represent Indivisible Polk County, Arkansas. Your sister community. I've got a message or question for Senators Cotton and Bozeman. I'm a veteran, so are my wife and son. You voted for the big, beautiful bill and cheered when the president signed it into law on July 4th. That bill requires all SNAP recipients to find work to qualify for simple food assistance, including veterans. I gave the best 10 years of my life in service to the country. Many, many others didn't much more. Now, thanks to you, even simple food assistance in our times of need comes with special requirements. Haven't we given enough already? Who do you think you are actually helping with this disgraceful legislation?
Do we have any other takers?
I'm ready. Yeah. My name's Bob Whitby. I'm not a native Arkansan, but I've been there for 13 years. My question is for Steve Womack. I want to know what's so damn terrifying about y'all, because he will not show up and talk to you. He's not had a public in-person town hall since September 2019. He has not updated his website. He doesn't put any public appearances on his website. He doesn't update his website. He doesn't post appearances. All he does is post his newsletter on there, which, if you read his newsletter, is not worth reading. So my question is, what is so terrifying about facing your constituents? That's what you gotta do.
Come on down. It's like the Price is Right.
That's out. Really.
Hi, my name is Linda. Pardon me that I'd like to read this to you, because if I just try to talk my own, I'll probably start crying because I'm so mad. Dear Ms. Margaret, thank you for, this is from Woman, a reply. Thank you for contacting me to express your support for constitutional principles in government. It is good to hear from you. Like you, I have a deep and abiding love for our Constitution, and I agree that leaders, from the president down, have an obligation to adhere to the principles espoused by our founding document. So it's not right. When they do not, we the people have an obligation to hold them accountable. That's a novel idea. Please know that I will keep your thoughts in mind as we work to uphold the Constitution. Thank you again for contacting me. Please continue to keep me informed of the issues that are important to you, and be sure to visit my website for information. Mr. Womack, that's about as big a whopper as anybody is that Trump can tell. You're on the par with him, I think. And after the disgusting and embarrassing display yesterday in Alaska, do I need to start learning how to speak Russian?
No. I see.
We have others. I know everyone has thoughts. I'm sure we have more folks that would like to make a comment or ask a question of these fine folks.
I wouldn't blame him for Sonic, I'll let
I'm a good shot.
Oh, perfect.
Wrong outside.
Just a minute.
It's up.
It's people that know this.
All right, we got some public comments that are in the Zoom chat, so I was just going to share some of them. Let's see. The entire GOP, including Cotton, Boozman, Womack, and Huckabee, all need to go. They are all complicit and conspirators to lawless tyranny. Once we get out of this fascist mess, we need to demand term, age, and enforced contribution ethics. Limit to all three areas, executive, legislative, and judicial. Apparently, there's a huge, dangerous glitch in our checks and balances system. A comment we mentioned earlier, something about Womack's newsletter. Someone asked if anybody's seen it this week, and it said, I read it last night, and he is saying we are lying about the OBB and the Medicaid cuts. That we're all looking. All of us. And another one about commenting, we keep hearing again and again, protesters are paid. One of our Zoom participants says that they have been to dozens of protests and are still waiting to receive their time. So you might be waiting a while, but those are just a few I wanted to throw out there.
Thank you, Sarah.
This for Cotton Benjamin, and I'd like to know, and is either of them consider they need sections or language to the 900-page project 2025 mandates of leadership? If they did, what part did they tell it? I think it's
Great question, thanks.
Hi everyone, I'm Lisa Harrington. I'm a volunteer with Indivisible. Some decided around during the day. I'll cook a lot of that. So I would have had 3 questions for these gentlemen if they had been able to show up today. And I actually could share them with Channel 5. So check out, it's in the Edison News Tonight, Channel 5. And see this lovely gentleman back there who's the pastorator film me delivering some of these questions. So I want to repeat them to you because I think they're important for all of us to keep in front of our elected officials.
First of all, especially given what's on our telex so I bless her for bringing that story today. The county is square severely cutting Medicaid without raising taxes and certainly by extending taxes for the wealthy, the tax cuts for the wealthy. It's just an astonishing enigmatic for me. I also want to know, how will you mitigate, and this would be to all three of them, how would you mitigate the detrimental effects of SNAP benefit cuts for 25,000 autistic families? What is the plan? And finally, not necessarily related to the big beautiful bill that really bundled up in this, do you approve of the Trump administration replacing our sacred illiberal democracy with Christian nationalism? Yeah.
Jokes.
Yeah.
All right, if there's anyone else, this will be your final call. Oh, we got someone coming down. Perfect.
That's what we did. Jit.
Okay, I would like to start this question will be directed in Cotton, and I suppose we'll not chime in on this. For 22 years, I was the wife of a man who was in the National Guard for both Arkansas and Missouri. So I have some familiarities in the Fort Code military justice. I am aware that Tom Cotton has been a soldier, which means he is also had Mexican CJ. Then he got a law degree, and that means that he has studied constitutional law, and then he worked on the JAG Corps, which means he's had advanced Uniform Code of Military Justice. I would love to know how he's justifying the illegal orders being given to the military in LA, DC, and apparently the Arkansas National Guard. This is not appropriate. He needs to stand up and do something. Second question. My husband is now having major health problems. He has spent 22 days in the hospital. Now, I realize that Bozeman has posted, oh, you're going to get $2,000 tax cut. That's real cute, sir. But, one, the last time they did Trump tax cuts, I didn't see a damn dime. Second, $2,000 buys us exactly 1 day in the hospital. That is your body in a bed with sheets and machines and a nurse going, oh, hey, you're alive, that's good. Oh, and food. It doesn't get the doctor. It doesn't get your medication. It doesn't get anything else. Which of those 22 days is that going to pay for? How will I pay for the rest of it? How do I pay for the dialysis he's had since? $2,000 covers 1 day of dialysis. I would like you to tell me, how am I supposed to afford my husband's health care with you cutting the nurse benefits? Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? If not, we're going to give the band another opportunity to play a song for us if they're ready. What's that? Okay, while they're getting set up, I'll go ahead and do some closing remarks and announcements. I wanted to thank you to Good Shepherd Lutheran Church for allowing us to read the Alton Civic in Townhall. I'd like to thank our guest speakers, Laura Kellums, Kathy Grisham, Joanna Krause, Hershey Garner, and Ernie Camacho. Thank you so much to all the volunteers who have given up their Saturday to make this town hall possible. And of course, thank you for attending. We hope that you feel uplifted and empowered as each of us volunteers do when we get to do democracy together. Just a reminder that if you haven't signed up for our email list, check out indivisible.org and get involved. There's not only links for the weekly email, but also opportunities to volunteer. We'll have another speaker event next month with the details TBD, so sign up to keep up to date on that. And of course, as an all-volunteer organization, we depend on donations to pay for things like the stage and equipment we had in No Kings, as well as the space we're using today. So if you can contribute, please check out the QR code up on the screen through Act Blue and help us continue to hold our elected leaders to account. Currently, we're raising funds for our very own billboards that we hope we'll have up very soon. Last thing. Don't forget to put your question, comment cards in the basket in the front as you leave. Make sure you put the name of the congressman you want it to go to on your card so we can get those routed properly. Thank you. Be safe. We'll see you on Labor Day. Now, back to our band. Thank you so much.
The sound system wasn't working for me, so I'm just going to do this. Is that cool? I am a millennial. You're a generation. The way you press sandwich in all these weird ways. Like the people that thought that I actually had it. The boss expect them to make me wrong. So, yes, we'll try. We'll do our best. Cool. I grew up, I remember, that's my grandma right there. I kind of had a grandma I used to talk with. That's a kid. Okay, something happened. I was 18 years old. And I said, Grandma, our generation just got through. Something on the news. And it just feels like that keeps happening. Instead of a bunch of wars with veteran and somebody crashes, somebody lives tomorrow, and whites and dead, like all the things. I'm just really tired of it. We just have this American dream until we get back something forward that we're talking about. That, so it feels like all of these puppeteers have just sort of gambled our future away. And I like the song, it's called Up in the Hard Times. That's the track that I did. So, I don't know what's in the car stuff. No. I'll be Life's a casino. I'm telling you. And everybody's playing. Boys and girls, women and children, me and you. Fun. The dice are loaded. Everything is fixed. Even a logo tell you this. Welcome to hard times. And feel and love. Do you like it? No. Well, you will be before you go. We got lots of gambling. Oh, and we're telling lies. Certainly welcome to hard times. Now. Take a look at my eyes and tell me what you think. Sides of pride, blinking lights, let down and in front of me. I wonder if you'll notice. Would you believe it? If I told you my life just is a smell. Welcome to the hard times. Feeling close. Do you like to know? Well, you will be before you go. You got lots of gambling. Oh, Joe will tell them why. You're certainly welcome to hard times. Hope you're feeling welcome. Can you sit there? The hard times. Just
That was our August Town Hall. Thank you all for showing up. Be safe on your way home. And don't forget to check out IndivisiBleNWA.org. Get yourself signed up for our email distribution list. That way you know all the things that are coming up. And we will see you on Labor Day.